Okay, welcome back everybody. Time for our second debate today. Everybody feeding back from being nourished. Our expert witnesses, as you can see, are already on the stage, so let's crack on. We have a large online audience checking out our debates today. So our next session is titled The Practical Applications for Telco AI. I'm Ray Lemaitre, the editorial director of TelecomTV. I'm going to be moderating this session. Yesterday, we held our second annual Telcos and AI event. You can watch the sessions online on demand from next week. And building on that day of debates, we now want to address the pressing issues facing the telcos with regards to AI adoption and support. What do telcos want from AI, and what new possibilities does AI offer? What are the challenges to deployment, and how will this impact their organizations, networks and services? So as with the first session, we're going to learn first from our expert witnesses. So could our first speaker please come to the lectern, and that's Rahul Atri. Oh, you're not going to, you're not?
No, I'm coming.
Oh, you're coming, yeah. Rahul Atri, President of the OSS Business Unit from Rakuten Symphony. Rahul.
Hello, everyone. Ray, I was saying, why always me? Okay, practical experiences building AI. I think we all are collecting the experiences so far. It's too early if somebody's saying that it's already proving the metal in the field. But again, like everything, I believe we were talking about platforms earlier. I think platform is just a go-to-market strategy. It could be APIs exposed, could be a web page exposing API models, but in the end, it all makes to make business sense. Apple, Google, Tesla, they had a very clear objective of making platforms that and APIs exposed on the app stores, how to make money, and how to make it as a sustainable business. Everyone will come and join the queue if there is money and there is business objectives to be solved together. And I really believe in the AI terms as well. We should also keep it measurable. AI is not cheap. The models are not cheap. Infrastructure is not cheap. Somebody else is making tons of money out of it. If we're not making things measurable, there's no ROI. We should actually take a step back and see if this was an automation problem versus something else which could be easily solved. We don't need to AIization of everything. We also learned that we need to very, very fast take the calls between the generic models and the very specific models. Let's term it as large language models versus small language models. So we were very early in the terms to understand that large language models are great to interact, great generic information. You can also play around that. Do you want to host it publicly or privately? But small language models are the ones you can actually train much more faster, can also set into your devices if you want to pull on the customer experience and other things, and also can go and sit as agents into your edge and your network infrastructure. We're also talking about inferences. In case you have a router, you have an edge open RAN node sitting out, you can actually take local decisions. That's one of the reasons XApps are not that popular, because they will run on open schedulers and open inferencing at the edge and take a lot of decisions. What do we do with the current industry experts? I think that's very important, because when we talk about leadership culture, openness, and making something successful, I started my career as product manager. So one KPI which I give to myself and my team is how adaptive the solution is, how many people are coming online on that solution every day. Adaption is key. You can make the worst platforms or the best platforms out there in the world. If people are not logging in, solving their usual problem with the platform, it's not successful. So the current SMEs need to start understanding that role is changing. Their role will probably be tuning the small language models, designing RAGs if they may, but think about somebody trying to optimize a telco problem. It will always come down to causation and correlation. There is so much noise we have in our data right now that to filter out the signal is the most important key. If somebody is the SME in that field, let's say transport radio core or probes, you need to understand that it's important. One data platform and RACI to evolve is the key. Thank you.
Okay. Well done, Rahul. Thank you, Rahul. Okay, first of 7. So next up is Colin Bannon, CTO for BT Business. Colin.
Thank you very much. I spend most of my time in front of customers, doing the enterprise side of the business, so I'm going to come from a slightly different perspective. But I think there's a couple of truisms that we've learned so far, and we're still learning. And first of all is, I heard this from a colleague in the US, build competency, not headlines. Having your team prepared to be able to, don't try to win the battle of building your own LLM. Let the LLMs fight it out. Let the hyperscalers fight it out. 100 billion that each of them is spending this year in terms of capital, and more than 100 billion that they're going to spend next year for the next version. You're just not going to win in that area. Where we've learned is a couple of things. Understand models and scoring. Start to understand what data is true to yourself and curate your data. Being able to host that data and keep it private. Don't allow the goose that gives the golden egg be given away, and allow other hyperscalers or other technology companies then disaggregate you because you've curated that information and then handed it over to somebody else. We see that in enterprises. It's very interesting to see how differently different industries are being disrupted currently by AI. The legal profession in particular is one example that is very worried about AI, because what is AI very good at is looking at a lot of historical textual data and summarizing, and their billable rates are going down very, very quickly. Other areas are looking at it as a godsend. But for the telcos, hosting and controlling your own data, but also having a team that gets good at being able to become an expert in tuning as well. These are some of the key things. But some of the things, the scars that we have already around competency rather than headlines is, most of the practical applications that we've seen so far, first of all, we've been doing things along ML for many, many years. This is just an evolution of that, and it's a means to an end. What we found is when you try to apply AI hype to certain business processes, you realize very quickly that if you haven't sorted out the business processes in the first place, you're not going to be able to get the benefit of AI out as well. So that's really important. But really, in terms of competency and the building, it's still early days, but building a team to do that. The other thing I'll say on the final thing is, for telcos, actually, the real thing that I think is particularly interesting right now is the implication on the network itself and being a trusted partner to have an AI-ready network. There's been very, very little modeling and understanding of the implications of what AI is going to do on the network. And I think that's a really big opportunity for us as trusted partners to deliver the value and experience of AI as well. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Colin. Next in line is Warren Bayek, VP of Technology at Wind River. Warren.
Good morning. Those who know me would tell you that I'm prone to hyperbole, so I'm going to start there, but I promise to bring it back into current day practicality really quickly. So there's no doubt in my mind that what we're doing in telecom today, where we're virtualizing the far edge and we're creating this environment where we can infuse AI, and by enabling that with this virtualization, eventually the world and your day-to-day lives will be impacted in a profound and positive way, in ways that even the smart people in this room can't begin to predict. That said, we have to deal with the present, and we have to do things now to enable that possible future. And we've heard it said, and it was said a lot yesterday, that culture eats strategy every day. And what that means to me in turning the telco industry back into an innovative industry is that us leaders need to push down through our organization the DNA of an AI-first mentality in our workforce and in our people. And I'm not just mentioning this for data scientists and AI engineers. The entire organization has to think of themselves as AI-first and AI enablers. And the way I see that playing out from a practical perspective is, as leaders, we need to make that education part of their normal and typical job description, not something that people do nights and weekends as an adjunct to their careers, but as a critical part of their day-to-day careers. The other thing, I heard something yesterday that Neil said that really resonated with me with current and short-term AI and telco. It's really a game of inches, which means we have to find critical business problems and critical business pain points that the telcos are having and solve them through AI. And we heard yesterday some really good examples of that where we're tackling energy efficiency and we're tackling good use of spectrum to alleviate congestion ideas. And there's some other areas. And I just want to mention another place that telcos, in my world at Wind River, we're in the infrastructure world. And as we virtualize through virtualize RAN and O-RAN, the far edge, we're creating an insanely complicated architecture, right? You're bringing in disparate architectures, disparate companies to handle the services in a virtual way. So it becomes very difficult to manage and operate that environment. And in one particular case, for instance, an event or an alarm that affects customers happens out here, but the real root cause is something that happened over here, and it's rolled up that caused what you see as an impact to a customer. And it can be very difficult to figure out what the real problem is and solve it quickly and efficiently to give the customer back the service or to give them the optimal service. And in a large-scale deployment at one of our virtual telco environments, we used AI to solve just such a problem by pulling in disparate data from all these different vendors and putting all that data, imperfect as the data may be, into an AI engine which let them get to the root cause very quickly and solve the customer problem. So that's just one practical place that AI is used by the telcos to create operational efficiency.
Okay, great. Thank you, Warren. So we're getting lots of different perspectives here on these practical applications for telco AI. Next up is Aaron Partouche, who's Innovation Director at Colt. Aaron.
AI isn't just about transforming networks. It's about redefining possibilities. The critical question for our industry is how can telco deliver true value to the AI ecosystem? And maybe more importantly, can the AI revolution succeed without telcos? At Colt, back in 2017, Colt led one of the first industry SR MPLS greenfield deployment, aiming for a cloud-like consumption model up to 100 gig across our networks. With segment routing combined with AI, customer can customize network path based on latency, resiliency, or even carbon emissions, while tracking performance in real time and adjusting dynamically based on intent. AI-driven applications will demand closer integration with network. Unlike traditional bandwidth usage based on OTT, driven by OTT relying on CDN and buffer mechanisms, future network must dynamically adapt in real time to meet the future AI application needs. Through intent-based network, we allow enterprise user applications to optimize performance dynamically. But that's not it, that's not enough. Because tech companies driving AI adoption are overwhelmed with requests from telco. So we, telco operators, need to collaborate. To develop application at scale, we need to provide simplified solutions that offer access to specific SLA for short duration and a seamless global coverage, eliminating the need to negotiate with each local or regional operator. Colt is contributing to this effort by actively working with the MEF on API standards like Sonata to streamline inter-carrier interconnectivity. Simultaneously, initiatives like GSMA's Open Gateway are becoming essential, enabling developers to interact seamlessly with telco infrastructure. Together, these efforts establish a solid foundation for automation and collaboration within the evolving AI ecosystem. Thank you.
Okay, there's that collaboration word again. Okay, next up we have Mabel Pous-Fenollar, who's Global Head of Digital and Zero Touch Operations at Vodafone. Mabel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. Let me put the perspective of an operator. So at Vodafone, we see AI technologies are and will help us both on the business operations as well as the customers. So let me bring it to the business operations on the field of operations and networks. So in network operations, our vision is based on a transformed operating model and capabilities that combine autonomous networks, but also intelligence operations that are using AI and generative AI. For those technologies, it is super important that we, as an industry, use the technology and our partnerships that we are building to move towards those new technologies in automation and AI. But not only that, it is super essential that we do strategic shifts on the operating model, the way that we do things. We've seen and we learned that the new technologies needs to us to operate them in a different way. So it's super, super essential that on top of the technologies and the partnership, we focus in the operating model and the shift. But not only that, the third big pillar that we see as strategic shifts is in the culture, the people, and the skills. We really, really see that this is not only about technology, it's about the change in our operating model, as well as upskilling and transforming our employees together on this. So we see, as I said, in Vodafone, that we can use AI applications for the business to help our customers, for the technology, on support centers, more inner in the network operations, and all of it is a technology, but also a transformation on how we do things in the industry. So thank you very much.
Wow, Mabel's clawing back time there. You came in well under. That's very rare, but again, we're talking here about the development, I guess, of the AI native telco here, and we've heard that a few times already. So our next expert witness is Manish Singh, CTO, Telecom Systems Business at Dell Technologies. Manish.
All right, thank you, Ray. Good morning, everyone. For next 3 minutes, attention is all you need as I take you on a journey to explore the rich landscape of opportunities that AI present to the telcos. And I'll just simplify them in probably 4 key pillars. Let's start with productivity. I think not only telcos, broadly across the enterprises, it's actually already well understood and the results have started to come in, the amount of productivity gains that you can have. Let me give you a quick example in the world of telecom, some of the work we are doing. Not very interesting, not very sexy, but network troubleshooting. All right. You can unlock, take large PCAP files, message flows, logs, etc., unlock the value of anomaly detection that AI does very well, and you can actually boost the productivity of the network engineer to quickly start to troubleshoot the use cases. Let's go next one. In terms of fault prediction. And I must note at this one, you have large language models, which are not necessarily very good with the time series data, and we've been working on another use case with a different model, looking at the time series data, pairing it with, again, logs and flows, and doing fault prediction at higher accuracy. Now, think about if you're running an operator, what does that mean to you if you can start to predict faults ahead of time when the faults are going to happen, starts to change how you do your workflow management, improve your network KPIs, and more. Let me move on from these examples to the next pillar, which is more around customer support, customer service, customer care. I think this is the most obvious one. Number of telcos are already getting started on this one, and the value that you can start to unlock with the large language models starts to become much more obvious in this case, especially move from the world of chatbots to chat agents, start to do more integration and automation with your existing OSS, BSS stacks, and more in that domain. The third one, which is not so clear, And in certain markets, it's definitely taking shape, is the opportunity with sovereign AI. And I would especially take you in the world of, in Asia Pacific, maybe parts of Europe, where a number of telcos who are looking at what they can offer in the local markets with local languages, local context, in terms of building sovereign AI capabilities in those markets, and provide services to the enterprises, to the governments in those domains. And I close, last but not the least, with the one that is most unclear in my view, but is a very, very, very interesting opportunity, especially for the telcos, is what can be done with edge. That priceless real estate, where can you bring AI to where the data is? Data has gravity. Most of that data is going to get created in the real world. And can telcos participate in that world by bringing AI on the edge? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Manish. And last but definitely not least, Vishal Singh, Senior VP of Global Business Center for Cloud and Network Services at Nokia. Vishal, you're going last. It's the prime spot.
Thanks a lot, Ray, and well, almost good morning, good afternoon to everyone. We have been experimenting with AI ML in telecom industry for actually quite some time, or we've been playing with that. And recently with generative AI also, we've been doing quite a bit of work in the industry. Actually, the challenge is not about what AI can do. The challenge is how can we enable AI as a technology to deliver business value. The use cases are consistent, obvious: customer experience, churn prediction, anomaly detection. I think our panel has talked about it. Our ability to actually look at the network and the network data, because so much of data gets produced in the network, is mind-boggling. And our ability to really take that data and maximize the value is where the challenge is. So unless we actually look at a framework which actually helps us normalize this data and stitch this data in a way in which it can be consumed by applications, it is very hard to create value. So therefore, our challenge really is to look at a system which actually helps us to take this fragmented data, normalize it, and bring it together in such a way that not-bound applications can consume it and deliver the value wherever it is needed to the businesses, to the consumers, to the enterprises, to the developers, as we talked about earlier together during the day. Now, once we do that, the telcos can actually drive decision-making and business models, which can then really help them solve certain fundamental problems. Simple things like reducing the operating cost, improving customer experience. How do you make network more efficient? These are the problems we will be able to solve a lot more in a predictable manner, and therefore create tremendous value for everybody across the businesses. And that's where our focus is. That's where we are looking to really create more value as a business, as Nokia, and work with our ecosystem and our partners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vishal. So we've heard from our expert witnesses, but what we need now is a great telco debate motion for you to debate on. So over to Chris and Graham, who will introduce the motion and then present their arguments for and against.
Thank you, Ray.
Graham.
We do have a motion. Thank goodness for that. The motion is it on the screen? Yes, the motion is telcos will only benefit financially from AI when they deploy their own customer-focused models. And this time, Chris is speaking for the motion and I am speaking against.
Thank you, Graham. I have no food analogy to introduce to the discussion. Many, many years ago, actually it was 1980 at UMIST in Manchester, my degree was in computational linguistics, modern languages. And we were trying to translate from Russian to English, English to Russian. In the opening statement, we put in the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. What came out was, there's plenty of whiskey, but the meat's off. Now, in order to get there, that took 4 years of work, right? That took 4 years of studying, of trying to understand programming languages. At the time, it was Prolog and C++, and trying to get on the old batch card system to push that through. There was a hell of a lot of work. I'm delighted to say that many of the models today actually do deliver that process very, very efficiently. But the point with AI is that, and it always worries me when we talk about an AI native telco or everything's AI. AI is a tool that we will use at various stages within the telco organization, within any organization, within our homes and in our own lives in the future as well. What I think is important is that if we focus back inwardly at the network, we miss the whole function of what the telco is supporting in that ecosystem discussion we had in the first debate. By moving it along towards the customer-facing side of it and making sure that all links work all the way through, that's when we're really going to create value and deal with the customer. As Manish just said, the potential of AI at the edge, and if the edge means the edge in, I think the way you're defining it, Manish, but also out onto the devices that we're going to be using. The telco needs to understand where all of those pieces fit. The models, the language that we use, has to be very focused on the way we as users want to use it, whether it's Dean's developers, or whether it's me as an individual, or whether it's TelecomTV as a business, or as a society as a whole. What we do have in the large language models have created a fantastic platform, can we use that word? Opportunity to actually be able to give us access where technology, as one former CIO once said, is for the first time starting to speak our language. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, that we're not basing always back towards the technology language of the past. We're moving to the language of the user of the future, the customer of the future. And only by adapting, by taking the scale of the LLM, moving it down the SLM into the more focused business, and then in a telco context, understanding all that data that was just being talked about as well, and using the language of the customer to be able to interpret the data that goes on within the network to deliver the service that the customer actually wants. And the negotiation between you and I as customers with the telco, or whatever the telco is in the future, actually is going to be in the language that we want to use, will give us the best option for us in the way our business or our households want to work, and it will be done in the language of the customer. So we're gradually narrowing it down. Let's say we're moving from the LLMs to the SLMs, using the RAG and all the stuff that we've talked about from a technology point of view. It begins to talk the language, even down to producing the brand of a telco and the way Colt wants to talk to the business, or BT wants to talk to a business or to its customers, and then actually focusing it down and delivering it in the way the customer understands, gets the best deal, and actually supports the whole ecosystem. So I would encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to go for the model, because by delivering that, financially the telco will benefit. Graham.
Oh, Chris, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this motion is clearly hogwash, and I urge you to vote against it when you get the opportunity. Let me tell you why. So, Chris told you a story about his time at university. I'm going to tell you a story about a meeting I was in about 30 years ago in Hong Kong, where the CEO of a company, I was doing a sales pitch for some telecom technology or whatever, and the CEO of the company at the end of the meeting said, "Oh, what other thing?" He said, "The internet." And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, what's the business case for it?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a really hard question, actually." And when I thought about it, I said, I probably didn't answer the question very well at the time, but on retrospect, what I should have said was, well, actually, it's an umbrella term for a suite of technologies, and those technologies will play in virtually every part of your business. And to the extent that that's true, we don't talk about an internet native business, do we, anymore? Like, all businesses have the internet, right? And they use it in different ways. And in the same way, talking about an AI native telco will just become completely obsolete at some point in the future. So AI is a suite of technologies like the internet. Some of those technologies are large language models. They have a great role to play in customer-focused interactions, as we all know. But many of those technologies are already in existence. Many AI technologies already exist. They're not large language models. They're being deployed in your networks right now. And you're benefiting from them right now. So in that sense, this motion is wrong, okay? Just to give you one example, just one tiny example. So I work for Hutchison. We own 11 mobile operators around the world. We also deploy private mobile networks. We partner with Nokia. Nokia has AI built into its technology for private networks in the radios and so on. So we're benefiting from that. It's not customer focused. Nokia doesn't know who our customer is really, but it's optimizing that network and it's making it more efficient without us doing anything. We're already using it. So this motion is complete crap. You should vote against it. Thank you very much.
He always resorts to abuse when he doesn't know what he's doing.
And I noticed, Chris, you said you weren't going to talk about food, and then you instantly mentioned
I
meat.
did.
Yeah, that's right.
But the meat was off, yeah?
The meat was off. So there we have it. We've got lots of expert witnesses on the stage with lots of different perspectives about how AI can be practically used by the telcos. But we've also got the motion. Let's keep the motion in consideration here. And it's all about benefiting financially from AI. So you've heard the arguments for and against. Do we have any questions from the audience to kick off for our expert witnesses? There are 7 on the stage here. So we have a question here. The microphone is just coming over. If you can say who you are and address your question.
Hi, Robert Colin from Apple Research. To what extent do you think that the upside is limited to the data that telcos already have access to? And what's the extra information? I'm thinking in terms of, for example, the nature of applications that telcos may not currently have access to, what users are actually using. I think end user customers are not just thinking about connectivity, that's kind of taken for granted. They're thinking about the applications they use. So to what extent is the upside for the telcos dependent on getting access to new information that they don't currently have? Certainly in terms of creating value, as opposed to just taking network data you happen to already have access to already.
Okay. Okay. We'll come to the end there.
Simply speaking, today, yes, there is a lot of data in the network, but it's not really accessible to, or for that matter, there's not enough intelligence we can get out of that data because it's all fragmented, it's all vendor specific. It lies into the data lakes, and we all know that there's not much we do with it, actually speaking, from the network data as we speak. So there is a lot of upside by actually really making that data available for consumption for applications. And applications is where the innovation would be, where you will actually use a lot of AI, or for that matter, the large language models and other capabilities. So the upside is, at this point in time, is massive. And if I may also say that we as an industry actually kind of missed the bus on cloud and security. Artificial intelligence is one area, especially generative AI, is where the entire ecosystem of all different industries are at the same starting point. So it's our opportunity actually to step up the game, because we have the access to data, but we just don't have the way to consume the data. The data is still not the best form and factor to consume. And we talked about in the previous panel about APIs and developers and everybody else. There is huge potential if we make it available, accessible, and you apply the language models that we need to, and especially also the industry-specific language models. Mm-hmm. So there is a tremendous opportunity. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I think we've got a few people, but I just want to follow up there, Vishal. Do you think that, because you talked there about the existing data, but I think Robert was also asking, do we need even more data to make the best use? I know Mabel wants to come in on this, and so does Colin. In fact, I think probably everybody does. But do you think there's enough data there already for the telcos to be able to develop profitable revenues from that, and they just need to tap that, or do they need more?
So see, the data is getting generated in humongous data gets generated in the network. Massive. And if you put that, so if there's network data, there is interaction data through CRM and other channels, the digital channels, and there is transaction data. So if you triangulate the interaction, transaction, and the network data, and this data is continuously getting refreshed, new data is getting generated. So I don't think so it's about more data. The data will always get generated. The question is, what are we doing with it? The opportunity lies there.
Okay. I'm going to come to Mabel next, then Colin, then Rahul, but I'm going to get to everybody in the end.
So in my view, and we're already exploring with some scenarios, so we have a lot of internal data, but we're already exploring crowdsourcing data. So I don't know how many of you know about the down detector, public data that tell us, when customers see that there is a problem in the network. So we're combining internal data with down detector, where, customers say, look, I have a problem in here, to really see, because sometimes the systems see a thing and the customer experience another thing. So we really, really see that there is enhancements of data outside our field that can help us to bring more value to our customers. And we use, down detectors, where there is a lot of data in some of the countries that use down detector a lot to understand where in our mobile or in our fixed networks we have problems, and we create, alarms and check on the system. So my answer is yes, we need outside our field, and we're exploring some, but yeah, it's key that we work with certain partners to see, which other crowdsourcing data or data we will use.
Okay, Colin.
Have you read the terms and conditions for any AI apps recently on any of your mobile phones?
I read. No BTs, yeah.
Look, we take this really seriously right now, trust, particularly for enterprise customers. Half of our enterprise customers have put their AI teams in their risk organization, for one. I think I'm going to be a bit of a cynic here. The role of the telcos, one of the monetization aspects of this is protecting our customers' unique data that is imperative to their differentiation of their business. And ultimately, we'll probably be the ones with the kill switch if it all goes bad, right? If this stuff gets away from us, the telcos will be part of that role to protect. But in the short term, trust and protection of that data is key from that perspective. And we see so much data, though more and more of it is obfuscated on the network. And it's not our role, we have to be really safe for our customers about privacy concerns on the network. And as a partner for our customers, we got to be really careful around what data we monetize versus what we protect for our customers and what they're willing to pay value from us. So I turn it around the way is, who are they going to trust more, and what is the role of trust in this area of ethics, sovereignty, security? And I would argue that the telcos need to parlay their role to continue to be the trusted partner on privacy more than ever, because if you think about AI, it's still scaling, right? And you look at the trillions that are going to be poured into this over the next couple of years, and the thesis is the more processing, more power, more time, and more data you throw at it, these models continue to scale on the generational AI side. And that data is gold, but it could be incredibly disruptive to our customers. And final word on this, if you think about law of unintended consequences, right now, half, I would say, of customers that I've been recently speaking about are thinking about getting rid of BYOD. And you would think, well, why? Why is that? And it surprised me as well. And this is a non-scientific number. It's just a set of customers that are enterprise customers. It's because of the next generation have been watching social media, and they're looking to, they're watching videos on how to get ahead, and summarization and note-taking is really important. And because the enterprises haven't rolled out a summarization tool yet, they're actually installing an app on their phones that will listen to the conference calls and actually then summarize those notes and take them away. And you've got CIOs around the world going, hang on a sec, where is this data going from our internal conversations on that perspective? So there's unintended consequences landing right now, and what we need to do is to help our customers monetize it, but in a safe and trusted way.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Rahul.
Everyone has data. The operating system of this device has your data. The OTTs like Netflix have your data. I don't know what we are protecting on that, but telcos have the data, Robert, to answer your question. The DPI does have the endpoints the customer is trying to access. They know which application, which web page the customer is accessing to. So I think telco has more than what it is required. I have so much noise. We need to find the signals and take the right calls to make it let's say, get more revenue or monetizable. We know what customers are acquiring. The challenge is the decision makers are sitting in silos. The packages, the products we want to take to market versus how ready the network is versus what the operating systems and apps and customer endpoint applications are running. All these people are sitting in different places. And what, as telco, we want to sell is more connectivity and more data and other things. Until we have this mindset, things will not change, money will not come. Also, I think these monetizable use cases are more about patterns and ML rather than AI. Nobody's going to switch on the button to say AI recommend the packages or products to customers, but you can actually customize to figure out the patterns to say this kind of users in this belt, in this regions are social media junkie or bloggers. And you can create capabilities and monetizable assets to them. Then also think about what the future telco would look like. Would they be a super app like ENI, Etisalat Group now? Rakuten has local ecosystem companies. So think about how do you become one application which can reduce all the touch points in customers every day? You will own the data. You'll know that, okay, this customer is going to my application 1, use case 2, use case 3 from my connectivity pipeline. I think till the time we are just thinking about how to sell more connectivity, that mindset will not come. And also, I don't think there's a data problem. There's a picking out the signals. You're picking out the wrong signals. And you're not collectively taking decisions as, let's say, the sales network, product, enterprise, and others. And customers are smart. I mean, for example, to the point earlier, Zoom already launched the AI note-taking app. Teams have it. People are going to use it. If not, they're going to download the application and make use of it because in the end, it's solving my problem. Or do I save my meeting notes? And going on and on and on. The world actually dumped everything on OpenAI. And they are getting access to data. Somebody is training those LLMs and the data is out there. Meta is earning huge. How are they training LLM models which they are rolling out with open source model? So I don't think it's a data problem, it's a signal problem. And how do you construct that mindset to say everyone in the organization, ultimately it's about monetization. If you're collecting data, tell me, what are you going to do with the data? Otherwise, only the infrastructure provider and cloud providers are getting richer.
Okay. Manish and then Aaron.
All right, I'll just a couple of things. Number one, I'll just start by saying good data in presence of other good data becomes great data. And there is, part A is just within the world of telco. We do have a problem that we need to look at and solve is how do we break data silos? Because there are data that are sitting in different parts of the organization that don't even see each other. And there is reasons for us to think about how can we break that data silo and bring those data together to really unlock the value of data and do that completely to the previous comment that was made in a trusted, secure way. Because yes, there'll be PII data as well. You're talking about customer data, there are regulations, GDPR and others that also come around it. So part A is that, just within the telco entity. Part B is bringing external data and enriching with external data. I'll give you 2 quick examples of use cases that I already know today that telcos are working. Number one is in case of fiber trenching and planning, using not only their own data, but external geospatial data. Looking at that, pairing that, understanding where the bridges, ravines, et cetera are, and where can they go and trench the fiber, bringing all of that external data into it. Similarly, another example where some of the larger larger over-the-top platforms would share share their application experience data with the telcos, and that data becomes very valuable because without, again, disclosing any PII and also, you can always take care of that part, but understanding where the network congestion, et cetera, is, and that paves the way for better site planning, better network planning, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, external opportunity definitely is there with external data sources.
Okay. Aaron.
Yeah, so agree also that we should firstly understand what we can do with our network data. There is also some, and considering also the sensibility of our customer data, which for me it's special. I mean, I would potentially be very, very careful about it, and I agree with Colin on that. So, but network data, and after how we can augment how we can correlate with external data. And on that, I agree with Manish. I mean, I can give you 2 examples of how we could use external data to correlate with our network data. One is we are working on a pilot to show the carbon emission on each route that we are providing to our customers. For that, we need to have an external data source. A second example of external data that we are working on is we can potentially, if we look at the fiber optics and the data from the fiber optics could start to identify if there is a tsunami using information from optical fibers correlate with external data, like, for instance, temperature. So you're right, correlating with external data, but considering really data that we can use could help us, could definitely help us, and we need to look at that.
Okay. And Warren, did you want to complete the set? I mean, there's a lot of ground being covered there.
I think we're only going to get through one question today. So I agree with the panelists that there is a tremendous and insane amount of data locally within the telco networks today, right? And understanding the safety and protection of that is incredibly important, Colin. And as we go to external data, that becomes even more important. So I'll leave it there. But to go right to your question, which was about external data, are there other sources we can get to? I think there are. I think it's an interesting question of what telcos are going to do with that and how they're going to monetize it. But I'll give you one example from our experience. Our parent company, Aptiv, is, if I look around this room, everyone, either it's on the table, in your pocket, you have a phone, right? That's connected to the telcos, right? So they have some data there. Well, I bet almost everyone in this audience also has a car. And some of us have maybe multiple automobiles, right? Well, those are becoming connected as well. And our parent company, Aptiv, is heavily in the auto industry. And they're deep into this transformation where automobile companies are becoming software companies, right? If you listen to the Wall Street discussions of the CEOs during their quarterly calls, almost all of them mention we are going to have X billion, tens of billions of dollars of software revenue in a very short period of time, going from 0 to that. So car companies understand they have to become software companies to stay successful. Why is that important? Well, your phones are connected to the internet. You know what else is connected to the internet? Your cars, right? So in the next few years, as this transformation in that industry happens and cars become connected devices, there's suddenly another enormous source of data that telcos are going to have access to. Now, protecting that and keeping it sovereign, critically important. Keeping it tight and controlled is important because, like telcos, automobiles are mission critical, right? You do something wrong in a car, and there's catastrophic consequences. So yes, the safety is a very important part, but there's a tremendous amount of data that can be shared between, say, as the cars become a rolling data center. That's another source of amazing data that can be used in a way that we can't imagine today, right? And how telcos monetize that is a great question. I know that someone will ask that, or they should if they don't. In the end, I have a phone. I am not going to pay a telco extra money week to week. We talked about this before, month to month. We talked about this earlier this morning. They're going to have to find other ways to monetize this interaction with external data, and it's going to be through partnerships, right? We're seeing it right now where we have discussions, the car example, to continue that on. We have examples where the car companies can do things that people will pay for, and the telcos have to find a way to use their interfaces or their access to their data to monetize those external data sources.
Okay, so there's obviously an awful lot of data internally, externally, as a great opportunity to use that data. I want to bring the panel now back to the motion.
Good.
Because
Thanks,
and the motion is telcos will only benefit financially from AI when they deploy their own customer-focused models. I want to hear from the panel now, starting at the far end and coming down this way. Are the telcos already benefiting financially, or do they need these customer-focused models to be able to really make money from the combination of AI and all of that data that they have?
I think we'll have to really look at this slightly differently. If we keep doing things on our own, we'll continue to be in this world where telecom industry will be in like this state where we are today. We'll have to really leverage everything that is out there. And we talked about collaboration, ecosystem, partners, APIs, everything. So I don't think so that there is any need for telcos to build their own customer-specific models. What telcos do have, and we talked about, the panel entirely discussed today, the different opportunity in terms of data. And ability to monetize that data is about actually harmonizing that data and making it available for consumption. Because data are sitting in silos, data are actually, has got tremendous amount of privacy requirements. So there is a lot to be done. And the industry out there is available. If you look at the banking sector or financial services sector, they did phenomenal job with the entire fintech industry. There is an opportunity in those areas where telcos can actually create businesses on top of their business, which can leverage what they have, and customer models will be dependent upon the businesses that they are serving, correct? Mm-hmm. It's really, how many customer models we will build? How many telcos will build their own customer models? I don't think so that's a scalable model. We'll again get trapped into this so-called walled garden mindset that we've always had. We need to open up, we need to explore, we need to really embrace the industry at large.
Okay, thanks, Vishal. Manish, what do you think? Is the industry already making money from this?
All right, I'll break the emotion in two parts. Make money and build your own models. Let me start with the build your own models. No, I don't think so. The industry needs to build, and I've heard about this telco-specific models, telco-specific LLMs. It's a very, 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 very expensive proposition to even start to think about it. Take the foundation models, there's a good set of that available, fine-tune them with your data. You are going to find that becomes more effective, rather based on your use cases. You actually don't even have to go to large language models. You might actually find smaller language models fine-tuned will be very effective. So that's part A, in my view, as far as the model is concerned. Part B, make money. It is absolutely clear from a productivity gain, the OpEx line, I would say, it's very clear AI is going to impact, and telcos who get left behind will actually find themselves in great danger, in my view, because you have to really unlock the value of all that productivity gains. And last thing I will say is, this industry has talked about autonomous networks for a long, long time. And I think with the rise of agents, that autonomous network is now within reach. And think about this. If Waymo can get a driverless car driving around the busy streets of San Francisco and solve that, is solving an autonomous network harder.
Okay. Mabel, benefit financially, obviously, can be taken a couple of different ways. So do we need these customer-focused models in order for companies like Vodafone to benefit financially from AI?
So if I go back to the question, and I think the key part of the question is only, I will say no. So first of all, this technology is not only bringing financial benefit. We heard, it's all about productivity, about customer experience. So I don't think it will only bring new monetization. So, and then if I move to the only build our custom models, again, the only part is where I'm hesitant. So I don't think it will only. So as you said, there is large language models. There is companies that, they have a skill set, on those things. They build models, they have large language, like large CPUs. We don't have those capabilities. So we need to leverage from what it's already built. And in the technology industry, there is talks about domain-specific models, and we might, need them for certain parts and certain use cases, but it will not only be used in custom LLMs.
So potentially supplementary, but not the key to it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Aaron, what's your view?
Today, AI is mainly used for productivity gain in most of industries. And this is what we are benefiting also in telecom. So it was well explained by by almost everybody in the panel. I mean, we can troubleshoot quicker, we can provide enhanced services, we can do some predictive maintenance, so a lot of use cases. So we are already benefiting from AI, because like most of the industry, how we use AI. Now, what kind of role we will have today in the revolution of AI is, for me, is a really key question. Not sure we have to create our own language model. It's probably not where we will be the most relevant, but understanding that these guys that are developing AI application will need telco more than before, more than the OTT, but found other ways. They deployed CDN, they deployed buffer mechanism. Now they will need us. So what can we provide to them? So trying to understand how we can provide really the capabilities and simplify their life will be, and I would like to link with the previous discussion, the platform discussion, is we need to be in the head of a developer, and we need to provide what they need. They try to solve a problem. They don't try to buy. So this is how I see our role, and so definitely no for the question. I don't see interest to develop our own model.
Okay. Warren.
So not to be too blunt, but to go right to the question, I mean, demonstrably, the answer is no. Right? I mean, it's been proven. I know I'd make someone happy. I mean, it's not a theoretical question, right? The answer is no. Telcos are doing it today without customer-specific models, right? We are saving money, as people have mentioned. We're saving money with operational costs. We're improving service to customers, so money is being made and saved today. Now, that said, I'm going to piggyback on what you mentioned earlier, which is, and Manish touched on it briefly with his point 4, that as we go to future use cases at the far, far, far edge where devices are involved, I do think it's going to benefit to have specific, they're going to be not even small, tiny language models that are very specific and really inferencing. And that may not be from telco specifically, but they would enable, maybe enable special use cases to be used on their devices or on their networks.
Okay, great, thank you. Colin?
Look, telcos, we feel the pressure. We feel from public shareholders, but also from our customers. All our customers, they don't have a plan B anymore, right? You know, you go back 5 or 6 years, you know, your credit card company, if the network went down, you could get the piece of paper out, put your card on it, run it and check like that. We are so aware of the souls in the planes that are going on that if the network goes down, the power goes down. If the network goes down, the DHL truck that's moving the insulin between the 2 hospitals doesn't work. What we need from AI is to help us deal with the incredible complexity of the systems that we have to improve operational resilience, so that the trusted services that we provide are there for greater good, for connecting for good. And you know, if you go back to the heart of it, it's not there yet. But if we can leverage it in a way, not just to improve our unit economics, but deliver meaningful outcomes that are uptime and the protection of the realm and the safety, because we really haven't talked about AI in terms of the persistent, more sophisticated cyber threat that is coming from AI as well. Because I can promise you, the people who are using AI better than anybody else is the bad guys right now, right? And you need a responsive set of platforms that can checkmate as you go through this asymmetric warfare as we go along from that perspective. So I think there's some real meaning behind this, not just the sort of, and I agree with you, by the way, it's a means to an end. But what we're looking for is more powerful tools against the incredible responsibility that we feel every day to deliver meaning for our customers and safety and trust.
Okay, thank you, Colin. And Rahul, finally, economic benefits, do we already have them? Do we need these small models to?
I don't think so. Somebody will become the hugging face for telco to host the various models. So far, I don't know how many of them have taken AI to production. So we have not technically hit the boundary where we need to produce our own AI models. On the financial stuff, I think we are very poor in terms of measuring ROIs, but saving money is possible, and there are measurable counters and matrices for that. Making money, we don't even let our closed loop systems make any changes. There's no energy saving production releases for
for radio network. We're so scared of letting the software take action. So best of luck with that.
So we hope there's some value being created, but we're not quite sure how to measure it or what to do. Okay, so we need to end this part of this session and move to the vote. So here's a reminder of the motion. It's on the screen.
Sorry, mate.
Here we go. So Chris was arguing for the motion. Graham, I think, is feeling confident. He was arguing against.
It's in the bag. It's in the bag, Ray.
Well, let's see. So get ready with your paddles, and remember, green side forward if you want to support the motion, red side towards the stage if you're against. Please vote now. Oh, look at that. Okay. I would say it's a 98% against and a couple for. So
I think there's a lot of naive people in the audience.
The motion is defeated. Are we going to go through a day where every motion is going to be defeated? We'll see that. But
if that's the case, Ray, that's fine.
Absolutely. That's right. So thank you, everybody. Really interesting session there, and I'm glad we got to the money point, because at the end of the day, that's what keeps this industry going. It's networking time again. We have 20 minutes to do whatever you need to do. We'll see you back here just before 12 for the final debate session of this morning, and a big round of applause for our expert witnesses.